Good morning. Good morning to those here in the sanctuary and those joining us online. I am Laura Shennum, Minister of Congregational Life. I am joined on the chancel today by Mari Magaloni Ramos, one of our worship associates, as well as Ricky, Chelsea, and Anne, who are going to offer some reflections today. We are supported this morning by our many volunteers and staff who provide our presence online, greet people, bring flowers, keep our spaces beautiful, care for our children, and gift us with beautiful music. Gratitude to all of those who help create our gathering spaces each and every week. If you are new and joining us today, then again, welcome. I hope you grabbed an order of service when you were on your way in, and if you are online, the order of service link is in the description of the service. This will help you follow along in the service, as well as provide events and ways for you to connect with our community. In addition, towards the back, there's a list of frequently asked questions that you may have, and if you have others, then of course, look for those that have an official name tag, and they will be happy to assist you or point you in the direction of somebody who can. We also have somebody monitoring our chat online, so if you have questions or want to add anything in the chat, feel free to do so, and somebody can help you there. A group of us have met over the past 5 Wednesday evenings to discuss essays in the book Love at the Center, Unitarian Universalist Theologies. A couple of weeks ago, I shared with some of you the concepts about love and the authors wrote about. This morning, you will hear 5 participants from the class about what they believe or learned about love during our time together. They're really amazing. I can't wait for you to hear them. Now, I want to take a moment to pause to recognize the 80th anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. On August 6th and 9th, 1945, the United States detonated 2 atomic bombs over the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, respectively, during World War II. The aerial bombings killed between 150,000 and 246,000 people, most of whom were civilians, and remain the only uses of nuclear weapons in an armed conflict. In a single moment, Hiroshima was engulfed in flames. Tens of thousands of lives were lost, a city was reduced to ruins, and humanity crossed a threshold from which there could be no return. Both bombings are remembered as horrific tragedies, causing immense suffering, loss of life, and devastation. On this 80th anniversary, we acknowledge those who perished and honor their memory. Let us take a moment to ring our gong in honor of those lives and a moment of silence for the impact of those losses and the destruction caused. This year also marks the 80th anniversary of the United Nations, and we are reminded why the UN was created: to prevent war, to uphold human dignity, and to ensure that the tragedies of the past are never repeated. If we remember the past, we must work to ensure that the lessons of Hiroshima and Nagasaki are not forgotten, and that we must strive to demand first that our own country and that all the nations of the world actively work towards a future free from nuclear weapons. May it be so. Thank you to the Human Rights Working Group who asked for this moment to be honored and helped craft the words for our reflection. Now I invite you to bring the fullness of your heart to this hour, to this time of gathering together in community. May this time we spend together this morning re-energize us for the week ahead and what it calls us to do. Let us enter a time of worship, a time set aside to honor the worth of this community and this faith and what they bring into our lives.
And now let's light our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. We invite you at home to light your own candle or chalice if you have one. The words are printed in the order of service. We invite you to stand as you're willing or able. We light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the fire of commitment. We light this symbol of our faith as we gather together.
And remain standing. You have entered. It's time now to rejoice and sing full. Number 361. There are 5 verses, and it's ripe for many others, so feel free to come up with your own and share them with me. Here we go, hymn 361. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you to rise again as you are able. This is the time we greet one another and welcome each other into our space and into our worship service. If you're online, please join together and greet each other there. Let us come back together to continue our worship.
They were about to page me. Well, guess what? We're going to do our unison covenant and our doxology together. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religion that tethers virtue to the work of manifesting love and justice in the world. We're a living, ever-evolving, non-creedal, covenantal faith. A covenant articulates the promises we make about how we want to be with each other and how we want to honor our connections as we gather in community. So let's say the words of our covenant together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another. And now let's stand again to sing our doxology.
I think that's it. I think you can settle in now. As I mentioned, we have been reading essays from the book Love at the Center, Unitarian Universalist Theologies. And this morning, we're going to have two excerpts from that book. And this first excerpt is from the essay Love is God by Reverend Abahai Jamanachi. Putting love at the center means recognizing that love is the force that guides us in our relationships, our actions, and our commitments. Love is memory and intention. It is the traditions that nourish us and the promise to honor those who have gone before. Love is the bond that keeps us together in hard times and in good times. Love is hope that despite our failings, we will make it through because we are not alone. Love calls for our best selves and invites us back again and again to attend to our personal pain. In this love, we find sanctuary where our armor can be pierced by our pain, allowing the softness of the heart to heal us. Love at the center is the love that will not let us go, let us down, or let us off the hook. Love at the center is the spirit of life and love to which we often address our prayers, even when we forget to embody it. Love at the center is the spirit that gently reminds us who we are and what we can be for each other. It guides us to say no to unhealthy behavior and to create good boundaries. Love at the center is the force that overcomes fear, informing and infusing courage so that fear does not destroy us. Love at the center is loving your neighbor as yourself, not more, not less. It is acknowledging our shared humanity and committing to live it out every day, even when it's hard. So let us choose love. in every action, every decision, and every moment of our lives.
The offering this morning goes to support the work of Caminante Cultural Foundation. The Caminante Cultural Foundation is dedicated to creating positive life alternatives for children and youth by combating discrimination, exclusion, racism, and inequality. They focus on providing workshops on animal farming, cooking, canning, and vegetable gardening to promote economic self-sufficiency for families. I saw pictures of it. I haven't visited yet, but I'm about to. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And as you know, the need is great right now for our Latino communities and is increasing by the day, with many people unable to show up to work or access food and other necessities because of the stress and fear that ICE is putting on our communities. So to make a donation on Vanco or using the donate button on our website or scanning the QR code, please select the line for Special Sunday Offering. The designation is important to ensure that your gift gets applied correctly. And if you're sending a check, please write today's date and the word offering in the memo. We thank you in advance for your generosity in this time of great need. This morning's offering will now be given and gratefully received.
I invite you into a time of prayer and meditation. Let your body settle into the space. Plant your feet firmly on the floor. Take a deep breath in And let it out. Let your shoulders soften. And if you feel safe to do so, let your eyes close softly. This prayer is from the essay Unitarian Universalism, One Holy Love for All, written by Connie Goodbread, which can also be found in the book Love at the Center. May we, in times of despair, find hope. May we, in times of chaos, find clarity. May we, in times of hatred, find love. May we, in times of fear, find joy. Choosing joy is an act of loving defiance. Choosing love is an act of loving defiance. Choosing clarity is an act of loving defiance. Choosing hope is an act of loving defiance. May we know the love that holds us and surrounds us. May we know that we are part of that greater love. May we never succumb to divisions meant to isolate us, oppress us, and leave us hopeless. May we always draw the circle ever wider. May it be so. Amen. And now let me invite us into a time of shared quiet. In this time, we can listen for the still small voice in each of us, a chance to hear what each of us needs in our lives. This is also a time we invite one another to acknowledge a loved one who you may have lost in this last year, or whose absence is particularly present to you today. You are invited, if you want, to stand or place your hand on your heart in witness to this loved one. In a world that doesn't always make space to acknowledge and hold grief, we make space for acknowledging and holding it together. Once we have had a time of shared quiet, music will bring us back into the space together.
This reading is an excerpt from Love at the Center, Unitarian Universalist Theologies. It's an excerpt from the essay entitled Death and Glory, Love and Evil by Reverend Ashley Horan. My own embodied experience tells me that Hosea Ballew's assertion that love is the life and happiness of the soul is true. For me, there is a physical sensation of love that is fully in alignment with both the cellular level of my own being and the cosmic level of the universe. I think of the first exquisitely overwhelming moments when I held my newborn babies to my sweaty chest after they struggled through birth into this life. The breath hitch of awe I feel standing on the pine-covered outcropping, overlooking the expanse of open wilderness water in the north woods. The pulsing energy of thousands of voices raised in song and chant during a march or direct action when change feels not only possible, but unstoppable. At these times, I feel what I can only describe as the physical equivalent of the sound made by a full orchestra playing the soaring final note of a glorious piece of music, when the frequencies of each of the instruments resonates a harmony so perfect, all those who can hear it transcend together. When I experience this full body sensation of alignment with the frequencies of love, I find myself clearly knowing this feeling, this is what I was made for, what we were all made for.
Thank you, Stephen, for the beautiful music this morning. As I mentioned in my opening words, the past 5 Wednesdays, I have met with 10 to 12 participants to discuss the essays in the book, Love at the Center. It was an honor and a privilege to hear the stories shared and the questions raised. It was a truly highlight of my week, and I always left with a new insight or with the wonder and awe of those present. My hope when I started the class that it would culminate in reflections that could be shared in worship, and today is the realization of that hope. You will hear from 5 different participants about what they believe or what they learned about love. I want to mention as well, all 5 are new to our UUSF community within the last year, some even within the past few months. I am grateful they agreed to share. Without further ado, I invite you to sit back and enjoy their reflections.
Good morning. I'm Rick Punganiban. I am a practicing Quaker for the past 20 years, but I've had the pleasure of worshiping with you all for about the last 7 months. It's just been so wonderful, and I was honored to ask to share this with you. I started coming to Reverend Laura's discussion series on love at the center at a particularly raw period of my life. I'm a media literacy educator, and I've had the privilege of working for 6.5 years for KQED, your local PBS and NPR station. For me, it's a dream job, supporting the mission to inspire, inform, and engage my local community with the information they need to thrive. And yes, my colleagues are Big Bird and Jack Pepin. But like a humane immigration policy, like a good education, like the National Park Service, this administration has targeted public media as another societal good it needs to destroy. Exactly. So in July, Congress voted to defund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the entity that provides federal grants that fund all public media stations around the country, including KQED. As a result, KQED was forced to eliminate my position, along with about 50 other of my colleagues. So this Friday was my last day of work. But I was asked to share with you by Reverend Laura what I've learned about love from our discussion series. I've learned that Unitarian Universalists have an important message when it comes to love. That isn't just a fleeting emotion, it's a force that protects, heals, and transforms. The Reverend Abhi Janamanchi wrote that love is a manifestation of the divine, that God is not a distant being orchestrating events from afar, but is present in every act of love, compassion, and kindness. Reverend Susan Frederick Gray reminds us that what draws us together isn't a shared belief, but a desire for community. And not just any community, but a caring community that enriches our lives, holds us in times of need, and helps us make a difference in the world. And I've seen that kind of love in action in my life over these past weeks. So many people I barely know have reached out to ask how they can help. People have bought me meals, they've written me recommendations, they've opened up their personal social networks to me. A bunch of us laid off KQED employees have banded together to share support and to bitch together. My colleagues threw me an office dance party on Wednesday where we cried as we rocked out to disco and K-pop tunes. So honestly, I feel buoyed by love and kindness, like 100 balloons lifting me up like that scene in Up. So that's what I learned about love in this past month, that love is more powerful than the bitter dreams of tiny despots. Oh, and support your public media station.
Our next reflection is from a young adult, Nico, who was unable to be here today but asked me to share it. It starts with a quote by Rachel Held Evans from Searching for Sunday. Imagine if every church became a place where everyone is safe, but no one is comfortable. Imagine if every church became a place where we told one another the truth. We just might create sanctuary. And this is Nico's reflection. Back in December, I started attending the UU Church in San Francisco. After the twin disasters of COVID and politics, I had resolved to be someone deeply connected. And importantly, as someone who could exist solely in virtual spaces, I made a decision to be with people in the real world. One weirdness about my time here has been how little I actually know about Unitarian Universalism and the theology behind it. In June, I officially joined the congregation as a member, despite not having read a single word written by a UU theologian, at least not beyond the hymnal. I think this was a good thing. I did not need to know why we replaced our principles with values to understand that love is at the center. I did not need to know the history behind love in action or love is God to volunteer at the local shelter or share silence every Sunday. And there is nothing theology can teach me about the deep connection that I can't learn from singing in the choir. I will say that after reading through Love at the Center as part of Reverend Laura's theology class, I learned a lot about love. Not so much from the specific contents of the book, rather I learned from the discourse with and between my classmates. On the first day of class, we wrote a covenant to define what we collectively wanted our class to be. We wanted our class to be open to the thinking of others, to treat others with respect, to listen to the person with the mic, to pass the mic to others, and make sure everyone had a chance to speak, to have the option to skip the mic, and so on. Next, we started getting into the chapters. Each week, we reflected on what we resonated with, what challenged us, and what we learned from UU from the readings. Being a child of the Redwoods, I instantly resonated with eco-theology. I also learned that love within UU is wide and diverse. There was the love of taking care of a mother with Alzheimer's, the love between bear cubs playing in the backyard, the love of gravediggers laying the body to rest. But it was in the challenges of the text that I really saw love firsthand. There were two parts to this. First, there was the attentive listening to where people struggled with the text. The second part was the gathering the courage to express what about the text affected you. It was a bit like I'm not going to pronounce this right, but I'm going to try. Chiaroscuro, the artistic technique of using strong contrast between light and shadow to create a sense of volume, depth, and three-dimensionality in two-dimensional works. In the contrast and relief of people's struggles with the text, we came to see our own silhouettes. The most miraculous of all this is how it all held with love. We held people's beliefs and unbeliefs in God. We held people's beliefs and unbeliefs in capitalism. We held the dual loves of Unitarianism, of love as our power in the world, and of Universalism, of love as cosmic power. We held past struggles and future hopes. All good art tries to say something, so I'm going to put my pitch right here. Take a class. I don't necessarily mean a UU class, although I imagine whatever Reverend Laura cooks up next will be a good place to start. What I really mean, though, is to be in conversation about something that allows for you to be seen in your challenges and bear witness to the challenge of others.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ann Diaz, and I, along with my husband, Eric, and our daughter, Roma, started attending UUSF in April of this year. I was raised Catholic, which I'm finding is a fairly common origin story amongst this congregation. I remember thinking as a child that everyone in the world was Catholic because most people I knew went to the same church my family did. And while the patterns of Mass could be comforting, I found myself with a lot of questions that couldn't be answered to my satisfaction. Why couldn't women be priests? Why was there so much talk about shame and sin? Why was so much of the church experience about memorization and recitation instead of questions and conversation? Decades later, I have found myself at UUSF, and over the last few weeks, I've spent my Wednesday evenings discussing love with an interesting and thoughtful group of people led by Reverend Laura. Our conversations have been energizing, and these discussions, along with the readings from the book Love at the Center, have helped to shape my current understanding of love. I'll admit that I embarked on this class feeling like I had a pretty good handle on what love is. I'm fortunate to have a supportive husband who I admire and have fun with, and I'm a parent to a remarkable daughter who delights me on a daily basis. I have friends whose unique contributions to my life I treasure, and broader family who make time for one another. So I know what love is, right? But many of the essays in the book forced me to reflect more, as they focused on love as an action, not just a feeling. They challenged the idea of love as something comfortable, easy, well-worn, and instead framed love as, in the words of bell hooks, a practice that offers no place of safety. We risk loss, hurt, and pain. We risk being acted upon by forces outside our control. In other words, when we love, we become vulnerable. Love is work, and it doesn't require reciprocation. Contrary to the old adage, love is not fair, but, and this took some time for me to grapple with, everyone deserves it. That doesn't mean we're required to offer blanket forgiveness or turn the other cheek no matter how horrible the action. These words from an essay by Dan McCannon really stuck with me. Quote, "Some early Universalists believed that a loving God would send everyone straight to heaven, regardless of how we behaved here on earth. To me, that's not love. I don't want a God who loves me but doesn't care what I do. I want a God who loves me enough to help me become more loving." I think you can replace the word God here with human being or community, and the message rings just as true. Love is the challenge to recognize everyone's humanity, and in doing so, hold one another accountable to becoming the best versions of ourselves. Debate is love. Protest is love. Speaking up when we see injustice is love. Have you heard of the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon? It's this concept that once you start focusing on something, it just pops up everywhere. Earlier this week, on the way to summer day camp, my daughter posed this question to my husband: "Is love forever?" Before this class, I think my own quick answer would have been, of course. But now I think it can be, but you have to work at it. This week, I also had jury duty for the first time, and would you believe it? The juror orientation video had this quote: "Ideals are made real only as long as individual citizens are willing to uphold them." Love is made real only when we are brave enough to risk our own comfort to act on it. Thank you.
Our next participant wanted to remain anonymous and asked me to read their essay. "For as long as I can remember, I've been drawn towards something deeper, a presence, a reality, a love that felt bigger than myself. As a child, I often caught glimpses of it in church pews while singing hymns I didn't fully understand. There was a warmth there that encouraged intimacy and vulnerability, something that made me feel like part of something vast. Later, I found traces of it in the pages of books, in conversations that cracked something open, and in moments of stillness out in nature. And certainly in the vivid, unguarded landscapes opened by psychedelics. Those experiences were unpredictable, humbling, sometimes overwhelming, but always filled with the sense that I had stepped into the very heart of reality. They left me with a truth I couldn't shake. There is more to this life than what we see. In time, I realized it was the same truth I had tasted in my Christian roots. It was the same truth whispered in poetry, spiritual literature, and in sacred texts from traditions I had barely begun to understand. That truth was, and still is, oneness. Oneness feels like love because it is love. It's the fading of boundaries between self and other, between self and earth, between self and the divine. It is the woven fabric that holds the stars together and still call us each by our own name. There are inlets into it everywhere. We find it in the way children move and express without restraint. It's in the raw honesty of suffering, in the quiet of sharing a meal, in the way music can make you feel more yourself and more connected all at once. These moments do more than make life bearable. They reveal what life actually is. We are born for love. You can see it in any infant, how they unashamedly reach out under the assumption that someone will be there to meet their gaze and hold them close. Over time, we learn that the more separated we are, the more mature we have become. And while separation has its place, we still will always be drawn back to this love. My journey has been one of unlearning, letting my guard down enough to notice that this love, this oneness, is not fragile. It does not depend on my worthiness or my effort. It is already here, in the laughter of friends, in the ache of longing, in the ordinary kindness of a stranger holding the door when your hands are full. The more I soften into it, the more I realize that the desire that first pushed me out into the world, through religion, literature, altered states, and through countless moments of searching, was not a searching for something new. It was and is a return to the love that has always been here, the love that is, quite simply, the center of everything.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chelsea Thomas. I've been attending since January, and I want to thank Laura very much for holding this discussion and for giving me this chance to speak. Anyone who's ever spoken to me for more than 30 seconds has definitely already heard my spiel. For 17 years, I was my mom's caretaker. This is almost the knee-jerk way that I identify myself, even now, a year and a half after her passing. My mom and I had a complicated relationship, to put it mildly. She was an incredibly clever, funny, stubborn, and often demanding woman. The world had not been kind to her, but she was especially unkind to herself. As difficult as this still is for me to accept, she was not always the safe parental figure that I needed and deserved when I was growing up. She hadn't been given the tools to take care of herself, let alone to raise another human as a single parent. Unfortunately, I frequently bore the brunt of her poor emotional dysregulation. Still, for all of her shortcomings, for all of the knockdown, drag-out fights we had probably too many of, I find myself defending her to people who didn't even know her. It's so important to me that people see her not just for the things she may have gotten wrong, but for the things that she tried so hard to get right. I want them to know how she quit drinking cold turkey when I was 3, because as she would later tell me, she did not want me being raised by an alcoholic the way she had been. I want them to know about the time that she scrimped and saved for months to take 7-year-old me to Disneyland. I need them to know that she was the only person in my life who never made me feel judged. If there's one thing I can say about my mom, it's that I never once doubted how much she loved me. I loved her fiercely. I resented her deeply. She was messy and imperfect, and she was my best friend, a huge part of the reason that I am who I am today. For most of my adult life, I focused on everything that I had lost by becoming her caretaker. The freedom, the entirety of my 20s, countless career opportunities that I passed up. It wasn't until recently, in a conversation with Vanessa, that I was finally invited to think about it differently. She asked me to think not about what I had sacrificed as a caretaker, but what I had gained. It ended up being a shockingly easy question to answer. I had gained more time with my mom, something I couldn't trade for anything in the world. I floundered after her passing. I had lost both a massive portion of my identity and my biggest source of unconditional love. I had no clue how or where to go about searching for it again. For a long time, I was looking in all of the wrong places and at all of the wrong people, barely even able to give myself the love I needed. It wasn't until I decided to attend my first UU service, almost completely on a whim, that I discovered where I was going to find it. And oh boy, did I find it. I found more love in this community than I could ever have anticipated, in every sense of the word. The unconditional support and kindness, the genuine caring I've witnessed here is nearly impossible to overstate, as is my gratitude. I've learned more about love in the past 6 months than in my entire 35 years on this earth, both what it means to love and how transformative a force that can be. What I've come to find is that for all of its complexities, for all of the hours upon hours that can be spent dissecting the very meaning of the word, and for all of the disagreement that there may be about the subject, love is actually very simple. It's there every single time we show up, even when getting out of bed feels like a monumental task. It's there in the conscious choice we're all making every day to build a beloved community here. It's in our fight for social justice, in our willingness to be vulnerable with each other, in the friends who help us move, and the animals we feed and care for, even when they pee outside of the litter box. It's in every song we sing, in every story we tell, and is the very spark of everything that we create. It's the gentle, healing breeze that rustles through the redwoods on a sunny day. Love is there in all of its messiness, in all of its beautiful complexity, at the very center of everything there is. There's a famous quote by my personal hero and beloved minister, Fred Rogers, that helped to shape the way that I navigate the world. He said, "When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, 'Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping.'" And I think that, with this in mind, the most important lesson that I've learned is that the same can be said of love. Even in times when it feels like blind, violent hatred has seeped its toxicity into every facet of this world, it's important to remember to look for the love. If you know where to look and what to look for, you'll always find love.
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I'm so glad they said yes, and they were able to share their beauty of words and thoughts with you. Thank you again so much to our participants. I'll offer this discussion again, but online in the fall, so watch for sign-ups at the beginning of September. With that, let's rise and body our spirit to sing our closing hymn, number 131, in our gray hymnal, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
We have completed our time of formal worship. Now it is time to be together in community to practice our love for each other. Toward that goal, I would like to invite Marty Vanderland to share an announcement from the lay chaplains. Marty.
This was an amazing bunch of presentations to follow, so I hope you won't be disappointed. I'm Marty Vanderlaan. I'm one of the lay chaplains here at First UU. To paraphrase Thomas Paine, these are the times that try all of our souls. Recently, UUA President Reverend Betancourt wrote the following: I think we must remember that we are a sanctuary people, not only in collaborating around the work of justice, but also in providing nourishment and shelter to our own spirits, so that we do not give up in the face of all that is. This is when communal care is most important. Times like these are when faith communities find their purpose. Are you distressed by Trump's action? Having lost a job, feeling under attack because of your sexual identity or immigration status? Well, congratulations. You have already done the best things that you can do to overcome feelings of stress. You are here, gathered in a community where we covenant to help one another. The lay chaplains, along with other members of our community who are therapists or experienced small group leaders, have been brainstorming about ways in which we can be even more supportive in these extraordinary times. We'll have a table in the courtyard today and invite you to come brainstorm with us. We would be happy to hear your ideas about what we can do as a caring community to support you and others. Come by the table and let's explore what we should be offering. Similarly, if you are a psychology professional or have led small groups or have other skills you'd be willing to share, we would love to hear from you. Grab tea or coffee and join us at the lay chaplain's table in the courtyard today. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Please also check out the events, presentations, and opportunities to get together that are listed in the order of service and the weekly newsletter, The Flame. We do a lot of great things here together at the First Unitarian Universalist Society of San Francisco. In addition to stopping by the lay chaplain's table, I would like to invite you especially to stay after the service and visit the UU The Vote, Reclaim Our Vote table in the gallery to learn how you can assist with writing postcards of encouragement to voters in some key elections coming up. Then stop by the card ministry table. You'll have a chance to write a card to those in our community who've experienced illness or loss. Today, you can sign a card for Thomas, who is in the hospital again with pneumonia. And finally, if you're not yet a member, please consider coming to the fireside room at 1 for the interactive new UU class led by Reverend Laura Shennum and Emma Wakeland. Their discussion covers Unitarian Universalism's history, the congregation's mission, the membership process, and ways to engage with the community. The class is open to all, and snacks and childcare are provided. Now, let's celebrate being in community together. Let's enjoy coffee hour together.
We extinguish our chalice, carrying forth the message of love that our participants have given us this morning, knowing that it is with us as we go into the world. Let us rise and gather, holding hands or putting hands on each other's shoulders. Let us carry the love of this community into our days ahead and remember to choose love in every action, in every decision, and in every moment of our lives. Amen.